Hello and welcome back, Marines. On today's topic, breaching. What tools can you use to breach, how to position yourself better, and what strategies to use when pushing, for example. Then, as always, in the last part of the video, we will see a few clips that were collected in-game to better understand how you can apply what you've learned in this video on the battlefield. First off, let's look at the breaching tools, and more specifically, the melee ones. They are quite a few. There's the natural bayonet, the boot knife. It is cheap, does not do much melee damage, but is easily available. Either in your boot, you can unholster by pressing Alt F, generally speaking, or in the weapons vendor that you can find in your prep rooms at the utilities tab, right there. It does only 25 melee damage, has a quite short range, but it's pretty cheap and has a special quirk we will see later. Then we have the machete. The machete is the breaching tool that is both cheap and reliable. It does 35 melee damage with a long range, as you can see here. I am one tile away and I can still hit the target. It has the ability with its damage to one-tap weed nodes, no matter how old they are. And you can find it either by asking requisition for one, but it's not always guaranteed, or buying one in your vendors, in the clothing section. For riflemen, it is only at 15 points purchase, either in the pouch format, that goes in, well, your pouch slot, or in the scabbard format, that goes in your backpack slot. Lastly, the most common form of breaching tool that most people will use, gun bashing. If you did not know, you can melee hit with your gun by simply pressing right click when in combat mode and, well, hit what you are aiming at. It will do by default 5 damage for most weapons, and then a plus 5 added by having a stock. You can further increase this with a few attachments, this being the natural bayonet that will add 20 melee damage at a lower accuracy cost when not wielded, which is not really that important. It will make it able to 2-tap most weed nodes and do much more melee damage than your regular boot knife at 30 melee damage. Then you have the option to further increase these by taking a sword stock in the Aegis attachments vendor and getting up to 35 melee damage at most for most weapons. This will make it able to one-tap most, if not all, weed nodes, except for hive weeds, but at the cost of making you slower when wielded. You can see what the attachment does fully by yourself. Onto attachments, and well, more specifically breaching attachments. There are two main ones. Both can be found in the Aegis attachments vendor, and these are the underbarrel shotgun, known as UBS, and the underbarrel flamethrower, also known as mini flamethrower or UBF. Let's see what do they do. The UBF has a more area of control capacity. It denies an area and has a quite interesting property. Here north of me we have a bunch of traps. An egg, an acid trap, and a resin trap. If you didn't know, an interesting fact about the underbarrel flamer is that if you find yourself in a position where you need to breach traps from a distance, this might be the tool for it. Let's see what happens. Here I will simply flame the path. What you can see happen here is that both the egg got destroyed and the acid trap got destroyed. You can also see that the parrot trap on my top left here got triggered. This is due to the fire tiles. They have a 3x3 radius around them that makes it a no trap zone. It will destroy any trap. So be wary of that when destroying traps, as the parasite will simply get out and likely hug you. Keep that in mind whenever using this. Onto the UBS. This one is more of a panic breaching tool. It turns the loaded buckshot shells in its compartments into high structural damage shells. Let me demonstrate. Here north of me I have some resin, and an airlock. I will simply wield the weapon, trigger it, and shoot the door. If I hit all pellets, the door will be destroyed instantly. This is thanks to the property of the UBS, making it so any sort of loaded buckshot shell will have high structural damage. This is great for namely panic breaching, if you either need to push an injured Xeno or get out of a poor situation inside the hive. Onto the more dedicated breaching gear. These are either guns or explosives. There's quite a few of them, but they are used for very specific scenarios. First off, the XM51 breaching scattergun. Available only at requisition. If you ask for one, they will likely give you one. It is the breaching tool. It can destroy pretty much anything from basic airlocks to resin walls. And if you have the buckshot to spare, or rather the ammo, even regular walls. It takes quite a bit, but it is definitely the most aggressive breaching tool. It is able to be packed in your belt only, and uses breaching ammo, which not a lot of people carry, so keep that in mind whenever you're using it. Then we have the explosives. There's two of them, the breaching charges and the plastic explosives. These can be bought if you are a Comtech for a price of respectively 3 points, I think, and 5 or 7 for the breaching charges, or be obtained at rec in sparse numbers. These two have quite different uses. The plastic explosives have a deadly blast radius, a long fuse time, and have the ability to, unlike breaching charges, destroy tunnels for a very short do after bar, but it has a very long draft bar if you're planning to use it against walls. Do keep in mind when using it, make sure you're standing away from the blast zone, otherwise you will take a lot of damage. Even in EOD armor, you will be hurt quite a lot. The breaching charges, on the other hand, is dedicated to breaching walls of all sorts. If it's breachable, you can definitely pop it with a breaching charge. It has a short fuse time, no blast radius, short placing time, and a 3x3 blast radius for structures only. Let's see, here I have a 3x3 brick wall, basically. I'll simply put the breaching charge on the side here. You can see it's pretty quick. It's gonna start beeping, and then boom, destroyed 6 of it in the 3x3 radius, as I said before, without much problem. Let's move on to positioning. A few tips on how you can push safely and efficiently. Firstly, let's look at how you can position yourself while breaching resin. Let's imagine here I am in a scenario where I am pushing north with my teammate here, which will act as my gun cover. They will have their gun ready at the door. The main idea here is that when you are breaching, you do not block the line of sight between the shooter and the door. If you do so, you will put yourself at risk, since the Xeno who's right there could simply open the door, snatch you in, and your teammate will either have the choice between shooting you, because you'll be in the way, or shooting the Xeno, but they won't even have time to dissuade them enough. So how do you put yourself in this situation? You stand by the side. This way, I can safely breach the door, no problem, while my teammate has a clear line of sight to cover me. If there's trouble, I can back off, and with the machete, for example, I have long range damage. So this is no issue. That is the main goal when breaching. Do not block the line of sight of people who can cover you. While we're here, let's talk about a breaching strategy that is called the 2-for-1. If you didn't know, resin doors need tiles around them to stand on. If it has no support from a solid tile, so namely a wall, for example, but not windows, it will simply disappear. So here I have a single door with just a wall supporting it. I will break the wall right there, and as you can see, the door will be destroyed. This is an ideal way to save time while breaching. So, what's next? Well, let's see a bit more positioning that's more tactical. Pieing, as it's known, is how you can position yourself while pushing specific places, namely corners or tight areas. What does it mean to pie? It means, basically, never hook corners and collect as much information while pushing as you can. Here I have a regular corner room. There's a hallway and then there's a corner to the left. What you shouldn't do is hug the corner and then push in. If there was a trap here, which there is, if it was filled with acid or a parasite, I would have been hugged. So what do we do? How do we pie? We simply go in and go in an arc around the area that we want to be careful of. In this case, it's a resin trap. So if I was just there, I could have seen it was a resin trap and avoid it, either shoot it down or go around it. Secondly, you can also pie tight chokes. Here is a 1x1 tile then that goes into a 3x3 choke. How do we pie this? Well, you simply go on the side and go around slowly, making sure that both the angles are covered. This makes it so you can both identify traps and do not run into a death zone without being careful. Before we move any further in the video, a quick addendum regarding traps. Traps are the breacher's worst enemy. They are often hidden in places, why we want to be careful when pushing. As mentioned before, when pieing corners or chokes, this can also apply to open areas with objects laying around. Some of them might have traps hiding underneath. For example, here I can see by right-clicking in the context menu, there is a trap under the body bag. Same for this crate. So how do you destroy it? Well, you simply either shoot it, explode it, or flame it. Do keep in mind, if it's a para trap, you will have to make sure that the para dies, because if it doesn't, it will jump you. On to the clip analysis section. To start with, a perfect example on how the 2-for-1 breaching technique can easily save you a lot of time. This clip was given by a member of the community, Astor Debb. Thank you for sharing this clip to me. And let's just see what happens. They are currently playing a scout on Trident. They, therefore, have the M4 custom battle rifle, the weapon with the highest melee DPS in the entire game for Marines. And so, with this entire wall that is basically doors and walls interlaced, they are going to chop it in seconds. This is the perfect example on how you can breach fast and efficiently by simply knowing this simple trick. For the second clip, this one is a more abrupt demonstration on how to aggressively push against traps. I am here in the northern caverns of Trident with my fire team. Thank you to both of the players who helped me record this, Stares at Stars and Does the Dishes. We are currently entering Celestia through the caves. We have been there before, so we know how the area is like and that there's been change. Namely, the door right there on the left didn't have weeds the last time. So how do we proceed? I will promptly report contact, of course. Then while we push, I will do a few things. I will first pie the choke. This will help me see that there's a trap in the corner, which I will promptly dispose of. Looking at the acid, I can tell this is a burrower. That's very important, which I will promptly, of course, report. And then I will proceed to aggressively breach the area with the support of my fire team. I will flame the choke, disabling any kinds of tiles past the second door, then extinguish it promptly. I know that there's Xenos moving in, but my guy behind me pushes in promptly. I follow him, and then we proceed to get a nice clip of us just obliterating that poor burrower with shotguns. This clip is a good demonstration of how to breach aggressively. And then here, I'm in a second scenario where there's a very tight choke area with two one-tile chokes on the south and the southeast, and there's a tunnel in the bottom right, which I know of. The vampire will slowly try to engage in, so I will simply disallow the area by using the UBF as a area denial tool. And then the second that there's more than 3 Xenos and they all go onto us, we pull back. This clip is the perfect example on how to aggressively breach with your team. Do keep in mind, you need to make sure that the people in your team are letting you breach ahead, which you might need to communicate to your team before someone just runs into a trap blindly. On to the next clip. This one was given to me by DGun himself, the player in this scenario. He is in LVKs, has 4 guns, but more notably the M54C assault rifle with an underbarrel flamethrower, the XM51 scattergun, and let's just see how this goes. So here, his teammate is gonna start pushing, and suddenly they get jumped by a Sentinel and a Ravager. More specifically, a Berserker that is using the old sprite. This clip is quite old, maybe 1 or 2 updates back. Anyways, he has the good reflex. He will promptly flame the Ravager. He is now not able to heal and will want to back off since he's both on fire and getting shot by 2 people. Here he seems to get stuck on something, not quite sure what, but doesn't matter. And now, DGun will pull out his X-aim to push very aggressively. He will simply burst down the door while pushing in and take advantage of the Ravager that is on fire and on the ground to simply gun it down. Then he will promptly use the Underbarrel Flamer again, both for light and as an aggro tool, so now the Sentinel is also on fire. Even if it were to cap him, the Sentinel would have to go down at some point. And the Sentinel is down, he reloads and takes the shots. Here you can see, this clip was an excellent show of how you, with enough skill as a lone marine, can deal excellent work by yourself with the right tools. He took down both a Berserker and a Sentinel with simply some fire and an XM51. If he didn't have the shotgun, he couldn't have breached the door in time and they would have likely gotten away. And this is it for the video. As always, thank you for watching, but an even greater thanks to all the members of the community who helped me gather clips and terminology for the video. Their part and contributions have been put in the description, as the rest of the usual stuff. If you have any suggestions, comments, or anything else, I suppose, comments below, as always. I will probably, hypothetically speaking, in theory, maybe see you in the next one.